Our biggest struggles that have held us back in our birth and baby businesses. Hello, my name is Liz Stanford and I am one half of Baba Business, the Birth and Baby Business Academy.
And my name is Anna and I'm the other half of Baba, and we help birth and baby businesses turn their passion into profit and all sorts of other things. I'm going to try and come up with a better intro than that next time. But anyway, for now, that is what it is. But today, this is such a juicy topic, and we're really gonna go deep and share with you today because, believe it or not, we really have struggled in our businesses too, but we've also made them work. But we wanted to share some of our biggest struggles, or our biggest struggles that we've had. I think definitely for mine, and the reason this really stands out for me is because I'd say 80% overcome it, maybe even 90%.
Yeah.
And that is believing in myself, like really believing in my ability to make this work. I had some major confidence issues. It wasn't even about confidence, it was like a trust issue. Like, I didn't have any self-trust. I didn't trust and believe in myself to be able to make this work, which is strange because in every other aspect of my life I've always been very I've always just, whatever I've put my mind to, I've done it. Like, I've always achieved a lot in my life if I've put my mind to something. And I would argue I've achieved a lot in my birth and baby business as well. But at the times when I felt held back or I felt frustrated because things haven't moved on, it's definitely come down to this not believing, not trusting in myself. And I think a lot of that comes from the voices in my head and also the voices around me. So I know that when I first set up my business, as much as he liked the idea of it, my husband didn't really get it. He was very much like a 9 to 5, mentality. Like, I work this many hours and I get paid this much money. And he really likes the surety of that and the kind of consistency of it. So as a family, we hadn't really had that experience of not knowing how much money was going to come into the bank each month. And I think that really impacted him. And I think for me, I took that fear on, and I took it very personally because the way I felt about it was, he doesn't believe in me, he doesn't trust me. And it's interesting because I've heard some people say, and even my coach at the time said, well, use that as fuel to prove him wrong, but I really struggled with that. And the knock-on effect of that was actually on a very deep level. When things weren't working in my business or things, I didn't meet my goals, whatever, I would actually blame him, which was unfair because it really had nothing to do with him. It was my business. I was running it. It's just, I really allowed that voice in my head, which was really my voice. But it was just one of the many excuses that I was using, that my business wasn't where I wanted it to be. And I think that really, and I look back for notebooks from about 6, 7, 8 years ago, and it was such a big deal for me. Like, I was always saying, this is holding me back, that's holding me back. Like, if only he would believe in me, then my business would be doing well. It's such a lot of nonsense, but it's truly what held me back then. And I just want to share as well, I know this isn't what this is about exactly, but I just want to share how I got over it. And the way I got over it was by actually, it was through a journey of self-love. So I realized that a lot of my feelings around myself was because I didn't believe and trust myself, because I didn't really like myself enough. I didn't I just didn't trust in myself. I didn't like myself. And so I was constantly looking for validation externally from myself, and obviously mainly from your partner, because you look for validation, or you look for everything from the people who are closest to you. And his validation mattered the most. And I think, and that's what I learned, was that actually I don't need external validation. I actually and I still do, and I got then a lot of fantastic feedback from my clients, from my colleagues, from, I was making a huge impact, and I decided to start focusing on that. And at the same time, I started to really try and treat myself as I would treat a loved one. And yeah, over the years, like it's just not even an issue anymore. It's not something that impacts me. If he happens to share a sort of a worry or a concern that he's got, I can totally park it and say, well, that's his stuff. This is my business. I'm the one who's making decisions, and I'm the only one who can make it happen. It's my business. It's all down to me. There's no other excuses. There's no one else to blame. There's no one else to sort of to pass this on to or make into an excuse. It is down to me. And yeah, it feels very freeing to have moved away from that. But it's more, for me, it was more than saying affirmations and, writing out a different belief or even the somatic stuff. I had to completely change how I treated myself, which doesn't sound related to business at all, but I know that is the thing that has almost completely eradicated that side of my personality, so which was not a positive one. So yeah, I suppose that's probably my biggest definitely been my biggest struggle, particularly in the early years of my business.
That's amazing to have overcome that. And I think that the whole, when you were saying like the self-love and like really delving into that personal stuff, like it's so connected to business. It's so connected. We have to do that.
Annoyingly, it's so annoying that it is, but it is.
I know, but the great thing about it is once you tackle it, it improves every single area of your life. So,
yeah,
we have totally different, I can relate in that way, but we have had totally different struggles. I would say that one of my biggest struggles was always imposter syndrome. I always sort of felt like this is going to end at some point soon. Like someone's going to wake up and go, who is she? Like, what does she think she's doing? Or, I don't know. I always had this feeling that I was going to be like found out, like somebody was going to tap me on the shoulder and say, actually, you're not good enough to do this. Or, yeah, there's someone over there who's like way better than you. So it was a bit of like comparisonitis, imposter syndrome type stuff going on. And I definitely feel that held me back for so long. It stopped me from creating new ideas, from innovating, from like really speaking like my truth and how I feel about things. It was a lot. It felt heavy, like a big lot. Felt claustrophobic because it was almost like, oh, I can't reach the goals that I want to reach, or I can't achieve the things that I want to achieve because of these feelings that I had about myself. So there was like a lot of fear of, being a lot of fear of being found out as being like an imposter, or, just
fraud.
not being the right person for the work that I was doing, and that there being other people out there that would do it better. But I think that the kind of realization that I've come to, or the journey that I've come on, is that those are, there's no reality in those thoughts and feelings. Like, I'm the type of person that accepts that I don't know everything, that I'm constantly learning and growing and developing. Like, that's where I've come to now. Whereas I think years ago, especially when I first started out, and actually when I gave up my day job to go full time, that's when I was really looking over my shoulder, sort of going, somebody's going to say, no, you can't do this, you're not good enough for this. And I had the pressure of, having to contribute to the family from the work that I was doing. So there was a lot of fear around this, but I have always also had this other side of me that's gone, just do it anyway. Like, just do it anyway. There's this voice going, stop doing it, somebody's going to tell you you're doing it wrong. And then there's this other voice going, just do it anyway, go on, just do it. So I always let the other voice kind of win out. Well, not always. I tried to let the other voice win out so that I could keep moving forwards. And then, of course, I learned about things like, like somatic practices, because I found that all this kind of fear and this energy would get very stuck in my body, and then that would lead to me having essentially a freeze response, not doing the things that I wanted to do in my business. And I did have one year, which was 2016. I remember it well, where I just woke up and I was like, I'm just going to say yes. It was like the beginning of the year, and it was like, I'm going to say yes to everything that comes my way. I'm doing it. I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I'm not going to worry what people think, and I'm going to do it. And it was probably like the most transformational year in business that I had, but it was also the scariest, and those things really come hand in hand. You can't grow and develop and shake off imposter syndrome and comparisonitis without feeling that fear. But my advice is, you got to do it anyway. Like, you've got to do it, but you've got to find a way to do it. So a lot of that was somatic practices, like I said, or journaling, or talking it through with people. Like, sometimes when you say it out loud, like even now saying it out loud, I'm like,
Yeah.
how ridiculous am I? Like, like, look at the business that I've built now based on the knowledge that I have and the feedback that I have. Like, why would I think that about myself? But we almost can't help ourselves getting stuck in these cycles.
Yeah.
And I know syndrome is a big thing that a lot of birth and baby business owners deal with. So I would really recommend that, they don't get stuck in that they move forward. And actually, we've got a whole framework for imposter syndrome, haven't we? So if you're a member, you can go and access our imposter syndrome framework, and I think it will really help you to navigate through that.
Yeah, I think it's such a, like, I really believe these two things we've talked about, this self-doubt, lack of self-trust, it is so wired into our DNA as women, because a lot of the patriarchy, if we look back to patriarchy being like the start of the Catholic Church, or the burning of the witches, like that sort of stuff, it's a lot about women being not believed, not trusted in, being told that, that had to keep their talents, if you want, what they were good at, secret, because it was frowned upon. And I do believe that we are really hardwired in that way, generation upon generation upon generation, to be on the lookout for where, I just think it's not something we've done wrong in our lifetime as such, but I do believe that it's particularly hard for us to move on from those feelings because of the history of our of our gender. And I think it's why it really does, it's not an easy thing to move on from, but it is, sometimes it can feel quite heavy, but it's like you said, it's having that, well, I'm going to do, I don't care what they say, I don't care what the voices, the past, whatever it is says, I'm going to just do this anyway. Because the truth is, and if you've listened to last week's episode, you'll know this is how we feel about this. Like, if you don't take the action, then you're not going to make the impact, because you're not going to be out there doing what it is you're meant to be doing. So you've got to find a way. If you want your business to grow and you want to succeed at what you're doing, you've got to find a way to move on from those feelings, or at least learn to ignore them and say yes anyway, like you did. I really love that. I really love that part of your story.
I know, like, it makes me feel a little bit sad for, like, earlier version of me to have not trusted myself. But what you're saying about, like, in our generational experiences, like, it's in our DNA, that that trauma that women have experienced, it's been passed down to us. And I definitely think that it's something that's been in me since day dot. Like, that, even I can think, even at school, and even at all through, like, education. And I went to university, and I still was kind of like, what am I doing here? Sort of thing, so I feel a bit sorry for myself that I did that. But I'm just going to send myself, like, some love, to the past me.
Love it.
And past me would look at me now and be like, who the heck is she? And similarly with you, with the self-love that you've developed, would probably, your former self would be like, wow, she loves something.
I'll be honest, my former self would be like, cringe. Like, that's how, seriously, my former self would be like, what are you doing?
Oh
That is
my God.
not necessary. Yeah, like that's how bad my sort of, if you want for a better word, like self-loathing was. It was, yeah, it would be interesting if I could actually see, but I can know as soon as you said that, I was like, no, my former self would be like, who is she? What does she think she's doing? That's how bad it was.
Oh my God. Wow. Well,
Anyway,
yeah, it is. It's amazing to think how far we've come, and I hope people listening can, because no matter where you are in the process, like you'll have overcome things and use that as
yeah.
fuel to help you see that you can overcome things in the future as well. So, what
Yeah,
was one
have you?
other biggest struggles? Sorry.
Yeah, so for me, the other thing I think is a bit of a money mindset thing, and I could do a whole episode on my money mindset. And I'm not going to go into like my childhood or anything like that, but I did come into this
Yeah.
world from the NHS, and yes, I earned a living, but I mean, I earned a wage, sorry, but the people I helped, they didn't have to pay anything for my
Mm,
services. And I'd also been a volunteer. So I very much had this NHS volunteer mindset. And I
yeah.
guess it's a bit similar to your one. I was sort of like, who am I to charge this, or should it felt wrong? I think there's a lot of messaging out there to say that it's wrong, especially in the breastfeeding world. It's wrong to ask for money for breastfeeding. Breastfeeding support should be free. And I think that does layered on some guilt for me. And I definitely underpriced my services for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think back to the cost of my trainings. It's insane what I was charging as the beginning, the first 2 years of the mindful breastfeeding school, maybe
Mm,
3. Not so much with my one-to-one clients. I built that up quite quickly, but with the mindful breastfeeding school, I really, really struggled with that fear of judgment of others.
yeah.
Interestingly, not parents, mostly other professionals. So I really had to work on that, and I really had to kind of work on my mindset around money and why I should be charging the right amounts and working out the right amounts. Interestingly, even yesterday I had a sales call, and I had to put together a special offer um for this person, and because it's something very different. And even in the shower this morning, I was just like, I am undercharged for that. Like
Yeah.
so it's still something, and that wasn't even necessarily a mindset thing. I just didn't really, I always naturally start off something, not really at as high a level as I should go. So it's still something I very much struggle with. I
Mm,
think, like instinctively, or perhaps I don't tune into my instincts properly on my pricing, is probably what I
mhm.
would say. But for the most part, this is something I've overcome. But that's definitely been, pricing has been a huge struggle for me, and it was important that I overcome it. And actually, interestingly, I've told this story before, but I went to a live 3-day event in London, and oh yeah, it was just before the pandemic. It was 2020, so exactly 5 years ago, because it was
Mm,
January 2020. Because my book was about to be published, and I remember sitting in an audience of about 100 people. Many of them knew who I was, and I talked about my struggles with raising my prices. And somebody put up their hand, they're like, Anna, your course is on my wait list. You do not charge enough. And somebody else said the same thing. And there's 2 things I realized there. Number one, it wasn't my pricing that was stopping people from training with me, because
yeah.
people were waiting for whatever reason, and it wasn't necessarily about money. So that was the first thing. I was telling myself a story that it was about pricing. And number 2, that it was too low and that people saw it and saw through it. And so I literally went home that day. I doubled my prices overnight, and the bookings just started flying in.
Oh, love that. It's
Yeah, it was
like
the
you were.
best lesson.
Yeah, that is
It was
amazing.
such a good lesson, and they haven't gone up too much since then. No, they have. No, I have actually again, not quite doubled them, but they've gone up again since then. But that felt like a good match for me price wise. But again, like I didn't have to wait for external validation, but I did. It took external validation for me to do that, and I really wish I'd been able to tune into my own inner knowing and my own.
Mm,
Um, my own belief system. But I think it's been a lot of undoing of that NHS slash volunteer mindset that got me to where I am today, and I still have work to do on it, if I'm honest. I definitely do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big thing, and we know it's something that a lot of birth and baby business owners coming from the NHS background really do struggle with,
Yeah,
specific in breastfeeding. I know it is a big
yeah,
issue. And I just love that story about you doubling your prices, because it's something that people are so scared of, isn't it? That they're just not gonna, they're not gonna fill their slots. They're not gonna, people are gonna stop booking with them. But if you believe in, like, you've got to believe in the value of what you offer. You've
yeah,
got to really feel that, and that can really, that takes a bit of work, it takes a bit of inner work, especially if you're coming from an NHS background, or if you are like brand new to business as well, and you've never done any selling or, taken money directly from people. That is also a mindset shift. Sorry,
mindset
struggling.
shift. Yeah.
And I think my other biggest struggle is really similar to yours. I've sort of called it a scarcity mindset, but it is really mixed up with the whole money mindset thing. And sales and pricing haven't necessarily been a problem for me. I've said before, I think on various different podcasts and things, that I come from a family of salespeople, and my dad has always worked for himself, like probably since he was about 20. So I it's not ever been a problem for me. I give something, or give me something in return, and that's money, and that's okay. But I do remember when I went on my training, like, when was that, 13-14 years ago or something, when I first trained to be a hypnobirthing instructor. And I distinctly remember the trainer saying to all of us that this is just going to be a hobby. Like, teaching hypnobirthing is going to be a hobby. We're not going to make much money from it. Which, when people have made a significant investment to be in that room, like, I know we're birth and baby business owners, and impact is a massive thing for us. It's like one of the top things, if not the top reason why we do what we do. But we're also allowed to want to make money from that, and need to make money from that as well. So, I mean, this was like well over a decade ago. So attitudes, I think, have, really changed and developed and grown. But that definitely held me back for a while. I was like, oh, so I'm just not going to make enough money from this. And really, one of the reasons I did it was not, it was to be purposeful. It was to make an impact, but I wanted to create a flexible business, a flexible income around my family. And that was kind of crushing. And it did make me feel like there wasn't enough people to go round. Felt like a scarcity, as in, all the available clients, I need them, because I want to make this more than a hobby. So it really sort of fed into that, and probably held me back from giving up my part-time job, my employed job. And I did a lot of work around it. Done a lot of money mindset stuff. I've done a lot of, feeling expansive rather than this kind of whole scarcity thing. And I no longer see birth and baby business owners as competitors, like, and I haven't for a long time. But hands up, like, I did have that scarcity feeling where it was like, it's mine, and that does nothing but hold you back, because you need other birth and baby business owners. Like, you need to be able to connect and collaborate and support each other and build each other up. And the more you build someone else up, like, it comes back to you tenfold. People know that you're that person that, wants to help other people. So once I kind of got over that whole scarcity thing, and I don't have it anymore, I honestly don't. I really feel like there's enough people for everybody, and we don't like hold tight onto what's ours. I'm much more expansive and open. I feel like, it's so much better to feel this way. But again, I know it's something a lot of people struggle with, the idea of new people setting up in their area, or like big brands setting up in their area.
So true.
that. It's hard, isn't it? It is hard, but it doesn't mean we have to give up on our dreams. It doesn't mean that there isn't a way to to get the clients that you want and that you need, and to create a really wonderful business. So,
well, and really unique as well. I personally think that, and thanks for sharing that, because I think it's really, I think a lot of people are going to resonate with that, the scarcity mindset. I think competition does two things. And firstly, yes, it can help you to, build your business up, make connections, that kind of thing. It can actually stop you being lazy, and it can actually give you a bit of a kick up the backside, because it helps you to really get like, okay, that's what they're doing. What am I doing? Like,
yeah,
what is it that I'm doing? How can I differentiate myself? Like, what are my unique talents? The thing that makes my business different to anything else, really. Because otherwise, if you're the only person that's doing, antenatal, you can be quite sort of general about your messaging, and you can be sort
yeah,
of like, for me, I'll be honest, at the Mindful Breastfeeding School in the early days, I was just like, oh, this is quite easy. People just kind of come to me, and my my trainings are fully booked, and I just put out an ad, and you know what I mean. But then, I think a bit of competition is healthy, because it really makes you look at your business and be like, right, okay, it's
yeah,
on. I've got to put in some effort here, and I'm going to have to figure out exactly why my business is special and what it
yeah,
is about my business that's gonna, so I personally think it's a healthy thing. But I know that, the scarcity mindset around it is extremely common, and
mm,
can be quite a difficult thing to overcome. But it definitely can be overcome. It is definitely a mindset switch. And
yeah,
we're big fans of sort of like, you know manifestation, abundance. We do a lot of kind of challenges. Also big fan of Susie Ashworth's book Infinite Receiving, which is all about like, there is enough for all of us. Like, money is
yeah,
energy. There is plenty of money in the world. It may not feel like that, and I know that may come from like a place of like extreme privilege,
hmm,
but holding on tight and having this scarcity mindset is only gonna we're only going to experience what we see. So if we're
yeah,
seeing shortness of money, if we're seeing scarcity, if we're seeing there's not enough, not enough, not enough, and you kept doing this with your hands, and I'm doing it now as well, then you're never going to be expanding and
yeah,
opening yourself up to what you're able to receive.
mhm,
What we focus on expands. So I think when it comes to money and work and clients and all of that stuff, we want to be focusing on what we're capable of, not
yeah.
what we're fearful of.
Definitely. So if you are struggling with, the competition in your area, try to approach it differently and
Mm.
feel differently about it, because the way that I viewed it was, and this is maybe not a healthy mindset to have, but I was like, I'm never going to give up. Like, I'm never going to stop what I'm doing, because I love what I'm doing. And it brings me so much joy that it doesn't matter how many other people set up around me, I'm going to find a way to keep going. Like, that was honestly my viewpoint. I was
It's
like,
a
I'll
great
be here.
mindset. I love
Yeah,
that.
I think as well, I was thinking, like, I'll be here longer than anybody else, because I'm just not going
I'm the
anywhere.
best. I'm
And
just
then
the
the
best. Who
imposter,
wouldn't want
yeah,
who
I'm the
wouldn't
best, and
want
the
me as their
imposter
hypnobirthing
syndrome.
instructor?
Yeah, but then my imposter syndrome comes in and goes, no, you're not. And then the other bit goes, yeah, you are. So, yeah, but thankfully I don't deal with that anymore. I'm so in my own lane and focused
Mm,
on the impact that I'm having, and the people who come to me are meant for me, and they really are. Like,
yeah.
everyone in my training, I'm like, they're all meant to be there. They're all the right people for me, and it's the same with your birth and baby classes. The people
Yeah.
that come to you are for you, and that comes across in your marketing, and all of your promotional materials. So yeah, lean into that for sure. Gosh, it's
Yeah.
been a therapy
Gosh.
session.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Well, we will wrap it up there, but I just want to share with people that the membership is open. So we do help you with this sort of stuff in the membership. We've got a whole section on collaboration over competition.
Yep.
And the whole concept of the membership is that we are a network of birth and baby businesses who are there to support each other and help each other. And a lot of our members have got together and had like events together, partnerships together. They've shared each other's stuff. They've kind of, gone live with each other. There's some really lovely friendships that have blossomed from the membership. And of course, we're there to, support you and in any way that we can. And basically, when you have those big doubts and those struggles, importantly, we're there as a community for you to be able to help you kind of see the reality of it and also give you some tools to help move through it. So if you feel like that's the sort of thing that you could do with for you in your birth and baby business, then come and check out the membership. We're putting a link below so that you can read more about it.
Definitely. See you next week, guys.
Bye.